Hey friends, so recently I got into the world of Zwift racing, and now that I've completed 5 whole races, you could say I'm practically pro. I joke, I'm still terrible, but I'm learning so much as I go along. I want to put together some of the most valuable things I've learned over the last 5 weeks, so that if you're thinking about racing, you don't make the same mistakes as I did, because I've already done it for you. Number 1, study the route. Now, I didn't do this at first. For my first race, I went in totally blind. I didn't know what was coming. I barely knew the elevation, distance, anything like that. I just rocked up to the start line and hoped for the best. I've since learned that spending those extra, just even a few minutes looking up the route online helps so much. I use Zwift Insider to check out routes in advance, but there are plenty of other resources as well online. But just understanding how long the route is and what that elevation profile looks like gives you a really great insight into where you might need to push, where you can ride to your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you signed up for a race that's on a route that already exists and you've got the time, just go recce it. Just go do a free ride bimble around that route, just to kind of give you even more clarity on what this race is going to look like. Now, I'm not saying you have to completely study every percentage, every turn, every flat feature, section, climb, or anything, but just having that in your mind going into a race gives you a lot more confidence. Also, it did for me when I started to do this for my races. Number 2, the start. The start of the race has to be the most chaotic, stressful, semi-violent, not violent at all, start to anything ever. Now, of course, you want to start strong, put your best will forward, but knowing how to do that is something I have been learning with every single race. And now I feel like I kind of know what it is I need to do based on a lot of feedback from the comments I've had before. One of the best pieces of advice I was given is that you want to have like your slowest fast start. Now, what that means is you want to kind of get off that start line as soon as the countdown goes down. So you already want to be spinning at a decent cadence in a decent gear. So when it hits 0, you're not like rolling out of bed. You're already ready to go. You're going, you're moving straight away. Now, in my first race, I just thought you have to just go and go fast and just try and go fast for the whole thing. I was so wrong. What you want to do is get off that start line in as best position as possible to be with that front pack. And you want to stick with that front pack, ideally kind of in the very cluster middle of that pack. And I will explain exactly why you want to do that in a minute. Starting a race too slow means that you're going to have to put in some big numbers and some big watts to catch up as fast as you can. But by doing that, you're using so much energy immediately, and that could come back and bite you in the ass later. Now, the start of the race can take some practice to perfect, and it's never really like a perfect scenario every time. A lot of your start will also depend on that field size and really just the pace and power of that front group as well, and whether you can just even keep up with it. Nonetheless, the start of a race is incredibly important, and it will take you a little bit of time to settle into it and find your rhythm. Number 3, respect the draft. What I have gleaned in my 5 races over 5 weeks is the key to racing success is drafting. I thought I knew what drafting was. You're behind someone, you're in their little slipstream, you kind of just get pulled along a bit by them. And that's true, but there is so much more to it. I highly recommend you do a bit of homework on how to draft, because essentially it's free power. So earlier when I said about how when you start a race, you want to get into that front pack and you kind of just want to sit in the middle of it. That's because you want to get as much advantage of drafting as you can from the people around you. And that can be people directly in front of you and to your side. So if you're kind of sandwiched in the middle of a bunch of people, you're in their slipstream. You're getting a lot of free energy. You're not having to use as many watts to try and keep up, leaving you with a little bit more left in the tank for the rest of the race, especially if you're planning to do any attacks. To put it into numbers, you can save between like 20 and 30% of power from effective drafting, which is massive. And that's why drafting is so important in racing. Now, there was 1 or 2 instances in my races where I was in front of the lead pack or in front of a group and people were drafting off of me, which is not what you want to be doing. Or I would actually slingshot myself and then be out in front. And in those situations where you find yourself ahead of everyone, it's best to just like ease off a little bit and let yourself get swallowed up again. Especially if it's after a big climb or a big push, you can actually use the pack to help you recover. 4. Power-ups. These aren't toys. These are tools, which has to be the lamest thing I've ever said. Power-ups are incredibly important, as they are good fun to use as well. Now, if you've already been riding on Zwift, you've probably come across power-ups before. There are several different types, all with different benefits, but not all of them will be available in your races. The type of power-ups you'll get in a race really just depends on that race that you're in, with some power-ups only being saved for specific Zwift events. Again, it's really helpful if you do your homework to know exactly what these power-ups mean and where it's best for you to use them. For example, if you've got the truck, which is the draft power-up, it's absolutely useless to use it if you're riding on your own without anyone to draft off of. Now, if you're not sure when to use your power-up, this is why knowing the course that you're racing on before going into it does help you. You also have the mini map as well to give you an idea of what features are coming up and whether you want to drop your power up straight away or whether you want to save it for something later. Number 5, rider profile. Now, we all have our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to Zwift. I didn't know what mine were. I was pretty convinced that I was just terrible at everything when I started. But these 5 weeks have taught me a lot about what I'm actually good at and what I'm still very crap at. But how you ride and your rider weight plays a huge part in racing, especially when it comes to descents, sprints, and climbing. Now, being 60 kilos, I'm considered a lighter rider, which means I have a natural advantage when it comes to climbing, which is quite ironic because I absolutely hated climbing and thought it was the devil's work. It does mean that any flat sections and sprints become like a public execution. And this is vice versa. Heavier riders will find that they are far better on sprints and downhills than they are on climbing. So this is kind of what I mean when it comes to your strengths and weaknesses. So if you're picking races, you want to have a look again at that route. Is that a route that suits you? Does it finish on a massive climb or is it going to finish on a flat sprint? Choosing a route that suits your strength is going to give you a much better advantage and a lot less of a chance that you're going to have an absolutely terrible time. Number 6, interface. What you see on the Zwift screen is just like a plethora of information that is really useful to know during racing. Your HUD is customizable and it will give you a lot of information about how you're doing. Are you okay, hun? Your heart rate, your power output, your average power output, or whatever else you want to customize that to show you. This gives you a good indication of how hard you are pushing. And then you got your mini map, great for just giving you the bearings of where you are, what's still to come, how far you've got to go. And then you got the rider list, which is super helpful. Not only does it tell you where you are in the overall of the race, but it also tells you how far you are between different riders as well as their power output. So if you see that time gap behind you closing in, it means you're being chased. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, which I will come on to later. The rider list also gives you everyone's average power output, which gives you a good indication as to whether someone might be easing off and dropping back or starting to attack and sprint. Number 7. It's okay to get dropped. And I really mean that. I thought getting dropped was just the worst feeling, really demoralizing because you just couldn't hang on. I've actually come to learn that getting dropped is really not the be all end all, and it's certainly not the end of your race. It means you held on for as hard as you could, and that is something that you can only be proud of. Now, when you do get dropped, you kind of have a few different options. You can either go high risk, high reward, put on the chase and catch back up to the front pack, which is what I did in stage 3. I was powering down hard, just eating the distance between us, just until I got to touching distance. We rounded that corner and I had caught them. Or you could simply sit, grind it out, put the pressure on those who are behind you and just keep going as hard as you can. Another really smart option, which I really wish I had thought of at the time, is just take a break. If you've dropped off that front group, you were giving it your absolute all to hang on. So you're probably feeling a little bit spent. Now, there's no harm in easing off a little bit and just spinning the legs. Have a look at that rider list and the distance between you and the people behind you. Take some time to recover so that when that chase group does catch up to you, tag on to them, use the draft and get pulled along. Now, there's no particular rule in what you should do if you get dropped. Ultimately, it comes down to how you're feeling and how the race is panning out. But just remember, the race is not over because you got dropped. Number 8, race numbers. Racing is all about numbers. It's your power output, it's your heart rate, it's your speed, it's your placement, it's your Zwift Racing score. And though it sounds like a lot, it's really not worth getting too bogged down in the details when you're just starting out. Now, I've learned that a Zwift Racing score is not the gospel of racing. I thought it was. I thought it was the most important number out of racing, but it's not. I've come to learn through comments and through the community, a lot of people don't really understand how it's exactly calculated. For me, I've only done 5 races in 5 weeks, and my score has gone up massively. It's gone up by a tiny bit. It's dropped huge, and then it's gone back up again. Even now, I'm not putting loads of stock and value into it, but I've actually learned that I'm more interested in my average watts per kilo and my power output. Your average watts per kilo shows like how much power and effort you put in through that race. And for me, it was super cool to see that over those 5 races, my average watts per kilo increased nearly every time. That's a huge progression for me and something that I'm really quite proud of. And if you want to really drill down into all your racing data, I strongly suggest you sign up to Zwift Power. In that, you have your racing profile and it will update after every single race with any new information, a new FTP or new power output and splits and averages and things like this. And it gives you so much more of a comprehensive overview of where you are in the world of Zwift Racing. Number 9, assumptions. Makes an ass out of you and me. It's really easy to assume that you have to be fit to start Zwift Racing. I know I thought that. I didn't want to get into Zwift Racing for a long time because I just didn't think I was good enough, that I was fit enough or fast enough, which in hindsight is pretty silly, given that's one of the reasons we have category bandings in the first place. You're racing against other people of a similar level as you. You also assume that because you're new to racing, you're going to come last, and nobody wants to come last. But this isn't your school sports day. Newsflash, no one cares if you come last, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. Everyone's focusing on what they're doing, how they place, their input and their efforts. No one's thinking about what Joe Bloggs is doing at the back of the pack. And that sounds so obvious, but yet it's an intrusive thought I think a lot of us have when we think about anything competitive. And even if you do a race, and even if you do come last, you still did it. You still raced. You still got over that finish line. And just doing that first race, or even maybe it's your few races in, I might come last next week. The fact of the matter is you still did it. Go you, because just completing it is a huge feat. So if you're thinking about racing, you're thinking about giving it a go, you really want to, but you're worried you're not fit enough or you're not fast enough, boot those thoughts out of your mind because it's silly. You just got to get stuck in and give it a go. And it might take a couple of races for you to find your flow and get familiar with it. But learning and progression, for me anyway, is so much fun. And I just kind of regret I didn't get into Zwift Racing a long time ago. Now, as I mentioned, I've only done 5 races. I am far from being an expert, but these are just a few of the big things that I've picked up over the last 5 weeks that I wanted to share with people who may be in a similar situation to me. It's like tips from a beginner for beginners. And if you want to see how my very first race went down when I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, you can watch it here. And on that note, if you're watching this video and you're way more experienced as a Zwift racer and you have some tips, tricks, mistakes that you want to share, drop them in the comments because that's how we all learn. Now, I really hope some people have found this video useful. Please let me know in the comments if you did. I've still got so much to learn myself about racing, but I'm really into it. I think it is just so much fun. So I'm going to leave it there for today and I'll just catch you in the next one.